Ren here with me, and I'm so excited. What better thing to bring him back on than to talk about the Batman, which surprisingly is not my favorite movie of the year so far. I've gotten a lot of people upset that I said that the Adam Project is my favorite movie of the year. We can talk about that before Leo gets on here because it is a fantastic movie. Leo didn't like it. He's coming in a little bit, and I truly do not want him to give his opinion on his wrong opinion.
His wrong
opinion. I loved the Adam Project, and I dubbed it my favorite movie of the year in my review before I saw it. Before I saw The Batman, and I was like, you know what? After seeing The Batman twice, I'm keeping it that way. Still loved The Batman, and that's what we're here to talk about. But real quick, before we dive into it, why don't you let everyone know where they can find you?
Oh, thank you for having me again. It's been a while. We talked about that before we went live, but you guys can find me at Ren Geekness on Twitter, Letterboxd, and YouTube, where I cover a ton of movies like Tessa, and I got a very special The Batman video coming, even though I already have a ton of Batman videos up. And speaking of favorite movies of the year, I was just organizing my Letterboxd earlier today, putting in the Adam Project in there, because I'm doing on Letterboxd. I'm ranking all the 2022 movies.
That's what I'm doing too.
This year.
It's hard. It's already getting hard.
Yes. I hadn't put the Batman in there for some reason. I logged in the Adam Project. I put it in the position where I felt it belonged. Then I noticed the Fallout is still my favorite movie of the year, but that doesn't sound right. And then, the Batman is missing.
I haven't seen that movie yet. I'll have to check it out. I know
it's heavy. It's on HBO Max.
HBO Max, that's right. I knew it was on something.
But go in blind. The only thing I knew about it is that Zach had seen it last year at Sundance.
Yeah, I had missed it.
He liked it. Mm-hmm. And it starred Jenna Ortega, and that's it.
That's all I know. It was at Sundance and I missed it, and it stars Jenna Ortega. That's all I know. So,
yeah, and it really surprised me.
Okay,
really
I'll be sure to check it out then. I'll be sure to check it out because it's definitely one that I saw. I think I saw it pop up on HBO Max and was like on the home screen and was like, maybe. But I just finished up Succession, so I had been working on that. I don't know if you've watched that.
That's one I still need to watch.
Yeah, because you guys don't have HBO Max, right?
No, but we do get the HBO Max stuff on Sky here. They just announced that Peacemaker is finally coming to Sky on March 22nd. Yay, I guess.
Yeah, you've already seen it because you got this.
I've seen it.
So. I can't imagine waiting that long and trying to keep away from spoilers. That's crazy to me. Like, I feel bad for all the people that didn't get to see it. And I feel like people probably found a way to see it. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Nudge, nudge, exactly. if you want to pay for it, but they don't let you pay for it, I mean, what other choice do you have?
That's true. That's a very good point. We don't condone that, though, guys. We don't condone that here. But yeah, so we're going to talk about the Batman. I've seen it twice. Something that I want to talk about, because I had a lot of people ask me about it. And I had asked you, we have a little chat. I'd asked everyone kind of before taking the girls to see it, because they were begging me to see it. Mm-hmm. They're 9 and 10. I was like, what do you guys think? And even Ren was like, there's a line. It's so hard to tell. There's definitely a line when it comes. This movie is definitely, like, it's PG-13 here, and it's, what is it rated over there? It's like 15?
15, which is sort of the equivalent to rated R, but like over there, and all the ratings over there are like this, but basically rated R. If you as a mom let the guy at the foyer know that, yes, I'm letting my girls watch this film, they have nothing to do with it. It's your decision. Over here with the 15, you can't. The the dad goes there. No, the mom, the dad, they go there and they say, "Hey, I'm taking my kids." Nope, you can't. And they apparently, from what I've heard, they've been checking IDs. They've been really forcing the rule. Funnily enough, in Ireland, which is just across a small part of the sea, they have the equivalent to PG-13. So if people really want to, they can just cross a bridge and they can watch the Batman. If you live close enough.
Listen, if you live close enough, I would say the Batman is worth it. It's worth the venture over there. So I decided to bring the girls, and I had an overwhelming, like, supportive response. I was surprised. I almost didn't put it out there that I was going to take the girls. I was like, maybe I should hide this, keep it to myself. But I decided to let people know. And I mean, like they say, you know your kids, you know? And my girls have been watching, I mean, they watch all the Star Wars, Marvel. They've watched the first 2 Lord of the Rings. So, like, they can sit through long movies.
Oh, wow.
And they're like, they're into the stuff that we're, you know, I'm raising 2 little geeks, I've got to say. But
Exactly.
they really, really liked it. Lori said, the only thing she said was it was a little slow, which I get for a 9-year-old, right?
Yeah,
for a 9-year-old,
sure.
there's going to be moments where she's like, I don't know what's happening. So this is boring. But she really enjoyed it. They both love Catwoman, which made me super happy. I love them seeing like badass women. You know, it's kind of like I don't know if you've probably seen it, but I know a bunch of you guys out there watching have seen the their reaction to Endgame, and you know, during the like girl power moment, they get so excited, their eyes light up, and they're just like, "Yay, girl power!" And it just shows what that means to kids, you know, seeing themselves on screen, kind of like the whole thing we've been talking about with Turning Red. But I was happy that they enjoyed it, and they're like, "Is there going to be a 2? There's going to be a 2, right? There's got to be a 2." And I'm like, "Oh, there's going to be a 2. There's going to be a 2."
Around Friday, I'm expecting the official announcement with the Rata Alada website going to 100%.
There's a reason they made that the end credit, because let's just skip right into it. Oh, and warning, guys, spoilers. I put it in the description. I put it in the title, but there will be spoilers here for the Batman. There's your verbal warning. Come back later if you haven't seen it yet. And also, if you haven't seen it yet, you've had plenty of time. Go see this movie. It's so good. What did you think about that end credit? Because at first I was like, this is so dumb. It was so dumb. And I was mad that I sat through it.
I didn't sit through it.
Oh, that's right.
I had a gut feeling. I'm like, Matt Reeves is not going to put anything at the end of the credits. And then someone said, there was something at the end of the credits. And I was like, oh, no, what did I miss? And they told me, and I was like, oh, okay, that doesn't matter then. And then I just visited the site, and it was the thing that the thumb drive, which is such a good joke.
That was the fact that it continued. It wasn't just the thumb drive.
Yeah.
The fact that you had to use the biometrics from the actual thumb to unlock it. I was like, they just took that joke and then made it above and beyond. Like, it was phenomenal. But also they mentioned the website during the movie, so I feel like you really don't need to sit through, like, because you might think, oh, I'll just check out that website anyway, you know. And now all of the buzz about it.
If anything, it suggests that maybe Riddler's plan is not through, which is something that I talked about in my spoiler review, and I'm sure we'll get to it. And I'll want to bounce off this idea of you for what could be coming in the Batman 2, if that's what they call it. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm excited. But so let's focus real quick on this one. Did you have a like favorite standout performance? Or for me, I tried to pick, and it's so hard because they're all so good.
Everyone is really good, but I think maybe to the point where it's so obvious it's boring that I'll say this, but the way they write Bruce Wayne and the Batman, the two sides of this character, Robert Pattinson has to do so much, where he has from the beginning, specifically on the Bruce Wayne side, he has to show this broken, absolutely distraught person that basically has no life, has no interest in living. He's only living for the violence, to unleash the pain that he has been living with since his parents died on others. And that journey of coming to a point where, oh, I could be doing more. I could be helping people. Where I love origin stories, and so I really appreciate that this was an origin story, just not the way we're familiar with an origin story, where we have a Batman who is treated like a monster throughout this film, like the stomping of his footsteps, like that opening scene of the criminals just looking into the shadows, like, oh, is he there? And you never see anything until you hear the footsteps, they filling from the boots up and all that. And as the film goes on, you get this person that kind of becomes a person again, because he sees something more, like the woman where he's carrying her at the end, and she doesn't let him go. And that's where it hits me. And I think it's such a beautiful art, such a beautiful moment. And he has to do that. He has to bring that nuance throughout the film that shows both sides of the character.
Yeah, and to go from at the beginning, you talk about that opening shot where the criminals and everything, but then the victim there is like, "Don't hurt me," to him.
Yeah.
So to go from a victim being like, don't hurt me, to like not wanting to let him go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then speaking of origin, and then I'll let Leo in. I see him all, "Hey, I'm here." He's so close up and his eyes down below. If you guys could see him, it's hilarious. But I'm so excited to bring Leo in. But real quick, I want to talk about, you were talking about the origin. I'm so distracted by you, Leo. So the origin, I love that the little boy there, that was kind of the origin of tipping to like showing us what Bruce went through. You see him kind of relate to the little boy, but you don't have to see his parents be killed and go through the same.
There's no dialogue between him and the boy. It's just a look where he gets paralyzed looking at this boy, and it's the obvious direction. But that's the thing with stories. When it's the right thing to do, it's the right thing to do. Where the boy is the first person that gives him his hand at the end when he ignites the flare and goes to save the people, and they're like, "Oh, do I grab his hand?" And the boy grabs his hand.
I know. I love that. All right, here comes Leo.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Need to fix my camera real quick. What's up, y'all?
We were saying it's been so long. For me, anyway.
Honestly, it's been a while for either of you, so it's good to be chatting some Batman, baby.
I know. We already talked about how you're wrong about the Adam Project earlier, so that was fun. And now, but we love you, Leo. We love you.
Yeah, look, here's my thing about the Adam Project. I think a lot of people will love it, and I will never stop people from checking it out. But yeah, for me,
you guys
came up short.
His full thoughts in his wrong video on his channel.
My thumbnail's like, oh no!
I know. Before we keep going, Leo, let everyone know where they can find you and your horrible wrong review. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
You guys can find me and my hot takes over at Geeky Goods. We are talking couple more turning red videos coming up in the end of the week, but thanks for having me on as usual, Tessa. It's nice to be talking to you again. Ren, same with you, man. Yeah, it's been a little while. I haven't been live streaming for a bit, so it's nice.
It's been a minute. I know, it's been nice. Like, I had school vacation with the girls and all this stuff going on, and so I hadn't been live streaming either. So I'm like, I'm ready to. Right. And then, of course, next week I'm away, so I probably won't have a live stream next week, guys. So we'll see. Maybe from the hotel in LA. Well,
no, get some time to chill, Tessa. Get your little time.
I didn't have a live stream this past weekend either.
See, look, it's okay. We're all allowed breaks. I guess I should teach myself that, because that's something I have a hard time with. But so we were talking about, Leo, do you have like a favorite character? We were saying everyone is so good. It's so hard to choose.
Oh,
but in
very
the Batman,
hard.
Was there a standout for you?
I would say, I know this is going to be a generic answer, but all of them. I mean, I just think that everybody was cast so well for their respective parts. I mean, Colin Farrell, couldn't recognize him. Zoe Kravitz, loved her as Catwoman. Had a couple moments for me where she was stealing the spotlight from Rob a little, but Robert was an excellent Batman. And I actually did a ranking on this, and I did put him as my personal number one, just because I feel like this embodies a Batman that A, I've never seen in live action before, and B, I'm very invested in learning more about that Batman, which I will admit, after The Dark Knight came out, I think I was kind of like, okay, I love that Joker. Yeah. But Christian Bale's Batman was never really a super catch-all for me personally. So I think for me, Robert Pattinson just has my curiosity at an all-time high when it comes to anything Batman media, to be honest. So for me, so good. Fantastic. Oh, and Paul Dano. Whew.
I know. I mean, everyone. Whoa. And can we talk about, like, and I know this sounds so dumb, and people keep asking me my favorite performance, and I'm like, I love all of them, but, like, can we talk about Barry? Like, can we talk about Joker for a hot second? Because he's, what is that, like, maybe 3 minutes? I don't know. How long do you think he's on the screen for? Not very long at all.
I'd say 2 at best.
Right. Like right. And you're talking in a 3-hour long movie. For me, Joker is like my favorite villain of all time. Like Disney Marvel, it's Joker. Now we get a ton of Joker. Oh, okay. Do we need another Joker? Probably not. But Barry, the laugh, and I think, was it Ren? Were you like, you weren't sure on the laugh, or Leo, maybe both of you?
I'm neutral. So, but I'm neutral, but I also pointed out that I'm really not worried that I'm not sold yet. Like he was, like we talked about, 2-3 minutes on screen. He doesn't need to convince me just with this. He has an entire, hopefully 2 other movies to convince me. So right now I'm like, okay, but it's not like I'm not convinced about the last, but it's not like I disliked it. It's just, okay, it's a laugh. He's going for the Joker laugh. Just don't know if it stands out. Like at this point, I don't remember the laugh.
Oh, see, I saw it the second time and I was like, even more excited.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna be completely honest with y'all. I don't think anybody can beat Mark Hamill's laugh. So I go into every Joker portrayal and I'm like, it's not Mark Hamill, but it's not terrible. And
I mean, all right, very fair.
Yeah, like what I heard from it, I'm like you, Ren. I can't remember, so I need a fresh watch to really grasp that again. But didn't hate it, didn't love it, but didn't hate it. It was all right.
Now, do you think this means Joker's the next villain, or are they gonna just have him kind of be in there, and then in like the third one he'll be?
I think with how Matt Reeves does this film, I think Joker will always be there. If anything, he'll be the main villain in the third movie.
That's what I think.
In 100%. The second, I think they'll just explore that dynamic between Batman and Joker. But he's in prison, and he's still in prison throughout the film, because according to a deleted scene, it was Batman that put him in there. They know each other, and Batman understands him a lot. So I want to see that relationship explored like that, because that way it's also different from anything we've seen before. And you asked if we need another Joker. I wasn't asking for a Joker in this version of the Batman, in this new trilogy. At the same time, however, the Joker is the antithesis of the Batman. It's almost like one exists for the other to exist.
Yeah.
So even though I'm not begging for another version of the Joker, I could very well live without another version of the Joker in this world. It just makes sense. And with what he did in this film, I perfectly trust him to give us another great Joker.
What about you, Leo? You think he'll be, I don't think he'll be a main villain in the next one. Again, kind of like Ren said, he'll kind of be
I think he'll have an influence. Yeah, I think he'll absolutely have an influence. And I love the idea of the next movie not having him, and then that person ends up at Gotham, and then there's a little bit more with Joker. I love the idea of maybe giving us kind of breadcrumbing us until his movie is there, because personally, when I saw the Joker, I wasn't upset, but I was like, I want to explore more villains. Like, I want to do Mr. Freeze. I want to maybe even potentially do Clayface. Like, I want some Batman villains that we have not really seen live action. Yes, Arnold, not my favorite.
It doesn't count. I don't think that counts. I think
the CW one is a little bit better, but I would love to see what Matt Reeves would do with that character. Like, seriously, I want to see Matt Reeves. I want to see him paint his style on many different Batman villains. If we could get 4 videos out of this series, I would prefer for the Joker to be the main villain of the 4th. But I just want to see more unique villains from the catalog, even if they don't have the main villain presence of the movie. Throw in somebody else, put them in there just to give them a quick moment of like Batman embracing heroism and throwing more people into Gotham. I'd love to see like little villains that we barely see, Calendar Man, all these random villains, him just throwing people into jail. Would love that.
Yeah, we definitely could have some kind of like montage-y type, not montage, but like something at the beginning of the next one showing where he's been. Or Caden here says that they did say his appearance was just going to be a cameo, but you also, it's so hard to trust what they say. Because they tell you things that are lies on purpose.
They say they're not in the movie.
After Paul Bettany, I'm like, nope, I'm not believing none of y'all.
I know. He wanted to work with himself. He's never worked with himself. You work with yourself every day, Paul.
Every day.
Like, come on. Oh, Caroline says that Matt Reeves said, unless I have seen this, wants to do Court of Owls, which would be incredible. And I feel like they set up and Ren wrote a whole thing. If you go to MamasGeeky.com, he wrote an incredible article.
And I might have a video coming out later today that talks about that.
Today, even better. But yeah, that's an amazing article. So thank you for that.
And it's an
Ren.
amazing story. Thank you very much. I'm happy I could do that. You gave me the platform. An amazing story also. If anyone watching hasn't read the Court of Owls storyline from the New 52, it basically the Batman in the New 52 picked with its opening story arc, which was the Court of Owls.
Yeah.
That was the best New 52 Batman story. Otherwise, I was like,
Yes.
nope.
I enjoy everything else.
It was like hit
Batman's
or miss.
not my favorite DC hero, so while I love the Hallmark stories, I kind of am not like on the lookout for Batman material.
That makes sense. So speaking of villains, Riddler, what did you guys think of Riddler? Like, I have a friend, and I'm not going to name names, who was like really not expecting this version of Riddler. Was really like Jim Carrey thought was happening, and I was like, no, we're not going there ever again. Hopefully, I loved this version of Riddler. Leo, you did the little heart hands. What are you gonna say about Riddler?
Give me like 2 seconds. I
Oh,
loved Riddler.
Okay.
I absolutely loved what Paul Dano brought to this role, and I'm hearing some people complaining about him being a little bit too much like Hush, and I understand that there's other villains that piece into this, but I love taking the classic Batman villain and really bringing your own style into it. So like, I loved it. Look, Jim Carrey, funny. I dug him in forever. Thought he was all right, but look, Paul Dano, the way he's just breadcrumbing them along, he still has that little bit of campiness. Like, I love that he still has this kind of lunacy that you would expect from the Riddler. So for me, I didn't look at him and really think of him as Hush. I really just thought of him as like, just like Heath Ledger's Joker, you're adding your own style, your own tone to this character, this classic Batman villain that's a different take and something I was looking for. That's what I was looking out for this whole movie. I wanted a unique experience, and that's what Paul Dano brought. He was fantastic. I mean, literally was playing Batman left and right. This is what I want to see in the beginning of superhero careers, something that we always skate over. What happens when the hero actually loses? What happens when the villain actually ends up winning? And man, oh man, Paul Dano won, baby. He's just so good and so creepy. Like,
and when he sang,
like when he was getting taken away, he's just like, "Oh, I just want a piece of apple pie. You want me to tell you about?" Like, just how crazy he is, man. I love it. His Riddler was great.
When he was gonna sing, I was like, is he gonna sing? Like when he's there, and I thought, is he gonna do it? And then he did it, and I was like, oh, it just made it like 1,000 times better. And when stuff is blowing up, and he's like, boom, but you can't like hear him say it. He's just like, oh, it's so good. It was so good. Ren, what did you think of Riddler?
What a creepy mother effer. My God. The way, just the presentation of him right away, where you're just watching the mayor watching TV, and then he goes out of shot, and there's the Riddler. I'm like, okay. Oh, what the fuck? And he's just presented as a serial killer that you'd see on any crime thriller, on Seven, I'm blanking on other crime thrillers, but he's just presented as a real life sociopath that comes across as this mix of Zodiac meets Ted Bundy a little bit. And like Leo said, he technically speaking, outsmarts Batman throughout this whole film. He's playing this game with him, and Batman even investigating him. It's exactly what he wants Batman to do. So then when we finally get a victory at the end, it feels all the sweetest. When we finally get Batman overcoming him. And Leo brought up a few similarities that this character has to Thomas Elliot and Hush, and who's to say this isn't Thomas Elliot?
Right.
And he's not going to become Hush, but who says this isn't Thomas Elliot? Because the whole IDs thing, we see two of them. They never come back with saying, oh, one is real, one nothing. And we see the name flashing up on screen. And I'm basically going to quote a little bit of the article you have up on the site. But I think that one attack, when he goes after Bruce Wayne in the film, it feels different than the other ones. The other ones feel like, hey, everyone, here's the truth. and the Bruce Wayne one feels like he's attacking Thomas Wayne, but intentionally making Bruce pay for it, which does not connect to the others to me. It just felt purposefully on Matt Reeves' part writing this on his film, but to me felt different. This one felt personal. It felt like it had passion, hatred behind it. So I think we could still very much find out that he is Thomas Elliot. And I think he was not the one that set himself out to do everything that he did in this film in the first place. I think he was doing someone else's bid that we'll talk about in a bit.
Yeah. Well, also, wasn't the reporter's name like someone Elliot, the reporter? I think
Edward
the reporter's.
Elliot.
Yeah. So
What?
there could be a tie in there. And it said hush. Like literally
Yeah.
hush.
The word
Brushed across the screen.
and it's
in
funny
case
if
you
they
didn't
do
think
that.
about it.
And
Here
it's
it
funny
is.
if they do that because in the animated Hush movie, they changed the identity of Hush to the
Yep.
Riddler.
Yeah.
So it'd be a fun twist on that again.
Can I ask you guys, does it ever so transforming a character like that in live action, does it ever harm the performance for you? Like, does it ever drop points from the performance that it's not necessarily that villain? So for example, Heath Ledger's Joker, not necessarily the goofy Joker in the comics. This version of Riddler, not necessarily quite not the Riddler from the comics. Does that ever bring it down for you?
For me, I I wouldn't say prefer it, but I like to go in and be surprised, right? And kind of the same way, like when they change major things from stories, I'll be like, oh, I didn't know this was coming. And I like a twist, as long as it's not like crazy bonkers and doesn't actually work, like with full of plot holes, then I'm going to be annoyed. But like, you know, and especially like a performance like this, like Paul Dano, he's so incredible in this and he owns it, and Heath Ledger owns it. Like, as long as they do a good job at what they do, that's what I'm going to judge it on, not comparing to other versions. What do you think, Ren?
To me, I have this rule where as long as the character, or any character, is not fundamentally changed, I don't care. Like the Riddler, for instance. If you define the Riddler in the comics, he's a psychopath that plays mind games with the greatest detective in the world. That's exactly what he's doing in this film. The Joker, another example. Like, obviously, all these characters have different interpretations of who they are in the comics through runs and reruns and new versions and new writers. Like, I like the psychopath Joker. I like the Joker that enjoys watching the world burn, that enjoys all the suffering. That's why, to me, the Killing Joke in the comics, not the animated movie, is one of the greatest stories ever told because of, like, we were talking about this. I was talking about this example of the comic Killing Joke and the animated movie Killing Joke yesterday, where it is suggested, I'm not going to use trigger words, obviously, but it is suggested that he does something to Barbara after paralyzing her. And I've always, quote unquote, liked to imagine that is the case, that he does that because it is something that Joker wouldn't do because he likes. It would just be another thing to make her and her dad suffer,
Right.
and that's what he enjoys. Oh, this is going to make you suffer? I don't really care about it, but if it's going to hurt you, I'll do it. And I like that Joker. I love that demented psychopath. That's, as long as other people suffer more, he'll do anything.
Right. Oh, I love it. Look, I want to talk about this part real quick. When, like, Andrew, and happy birthday, Andrew. I think it's your birthday today, right? The 10th?
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, fellow
Happy
Pisces.
birthday. Today is the 10th. So happy birthday, Andrew. That part when, like, did you think he knew that his identity was Bruce Wayne, or did you think he was playing a trick? Because I totally fell for it. And was
I fell
completely,
for it as well.
You did.
First
But
watch,
Okay. Because I fell for it during the scene, and then by the end, I'm like, oh, okay, he doesn't know. Cool.
Yo, fantastic facial expressions for Pattinson in that scene.
Yes.
Like, to just a complete poker face. He's saying Bruce Wayne. You could tell deep down he's like, nah, he doesn't know. And then when he finally realizes, like, no, he definitely doesn't, then he brings out this savage Batman that's like, man, I might have to bust this window down to get you to talk. Loved that scene from both of them, but especially, I mean, like, look, Dano just chewed that up, but especially Pattinson and his ability to just ramp up his acting right there from slow, quiet, hearing, listening to I'm going to get the answer out of you no matter what. I love it, man. So much range. I mean, I'm like, look, somebody who does any sort of film class, you got to bring up Robert Pattinson, man. He has really had a journey in his acting. And like, this is peak for me. I'm like, this man is killing it. I'm now looking at Robert Pattinson movies, anything coming up. I'm like, okay, Rob Pattinson's in it. I'm going to go check it out. Because he has really just turned his acting career all around. But sorry, that's a total tangent, but man, no. I like that scene, and it did trick me at first. It definitely tricked me.
I love that scene. And there's nothing wrong with sparkly vampire Robert Pattinson. Let's put that out there. I like the Twilight movies, but I'm also kind of their audience, and I've read the books, and so, I mean, you know, I enjoyed it.
I've read them too.
Well, there you go. Did you watch the movies or no?
Oh yeah,
like all of them?
I was dragged. Oh yeah,
and you didn't love his performance, Leo?
Not until Breaking Dawn Part 1.
Okay, all right, that's fair because it is like, all right, I'll allow it. So
Took
Ren,
you
you
less
want to
time
talk
than
about? Do you want to talk about that scene? Just that scene where he's, you know, like we said about Rob, and then
that scene was the one that made me look at his entire Paul Dano's at his entire performance so differently, where he goes hardcore into this one type of performance, and I'm like, people are going to hate or love this, like no in between. And since the movie has come out, I've talked to several people that either love it or hate it, no in between.
It's true,
but it's very unsettling. And it's the scene that shows you just how much he has been playing with Batman, just how much the Batman has gone along with this game that he wanted to. And when he confronts him with the whole thing of, oh, we're working together on this. And you realize just how much that hits Bruce, because it's true. Yeah. They have the exact same goal. It's just different methods. They've been doing this whole thing kind of together. Even Bruce's mistakes along the way, as he suspects, like who was the rat and whatnot, they helped Riddler himself figure out the things he wanted to figure out to bring out the corruption in Gotham. So I think that scene is brilliant. And it's a great point of no return scene. Once those bombs go off, like from second act to third act, where the stakes escalate and you're like, what now? And then the amazing third act, where he has gathered these followers as this kind of influencer. And it's such a great critique on how we work today, where a ton of influencers can just have you do anything you want.
I love that. Hey guys, that was my favorite. Hey guys,
right?
thanks for the comments.
Hey guys,
the scene in the apartment, with discount Oscar Isaac cup that starts to like him along the way. Am I the only one who thought that?
Yes, but now I will never unsee it. Yeah, exactly.
Now you're gonna go watch the movie again, and you're like, "Oh shit!"
I love that how he just grows to like him, or especially how when he saw Bruce Wayne, like he loved Bruce Wayne, and he was just like,
"Oh shit,
giving
Bruce
Batman
Wayne.
Crap." Yeah.
You know, it was like
everyone loves everyone loves Bruce Wayne in this film except Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, amen. You know, it was like oh shit for me was like when the bombs went off, and I realized. There's no Superman in this universe. There's no Wonder Woman. There's no... What the fuck are they going to do?
I will say that whole scene inside, you guys have played the Arkham games, I'm imagining, right? Have you played the Arkham games? Didn't that remind you so much of like the Arkham games, the stealth and the... Yes. And I know the guys put themselves on those string thing, so they wouldn't fall off, I guess, was their reasoning. I thought that was weird that they all had those on. But I liked seeing them hanging. That was like such Arkham... where you have to walk around and then of course we get a little bit of a gargoyle moment earlier on, a little bit where he's walking out right before he what was that? Okay, did you guys expect him to pull his parachute thing and like whack into the bridge like an idiot, or did you think he was gonna pull it off?
No, but I loved it.
Yeah.
Same.
I love that he fails.
Yeah.
'Cause, it's only his second year, and I love that he's kind of learning on the job, kind of. And it feels so out of place at first with the rest of the film that I'm like, oh, okay. It's cool. I love it.
Yeah.
But it feels so out of place at first. And then when he fails, I'm like, this fits with the rest of the film. This grounded take on the Batman. And he's very hurt after that.
He
Like,
tries to act like he's not, but, but he is.
It was limping off like, I'm struggling, bro. I got to get back to the cave.
It's like a cat when they like, you know, they try to like pull it off like they're cool. Leo, you like that part?
Oh, I love it. I mean, seriously, even just the little flopping around body, I'm just like, yep, this is, yes, all fun. I love it. And again, it just goes back to seeing Batman fail, like having some humanity to this character.
Human,
like it's like, okay, we all started something like, 2 years running the streets of Gotham. Yeah, you're not going to be perfect yet.
Right.
And I didn't mention it, but as he's flying, like he's struggling to control the direction and all that. I'm like,
I think it was his first time using it. Like, it was
probably. And he regrets it.
Yeah, he was hurt. I want to answer this question real quick. So I had said there was a scene that I was not sure if I was going to take my kids or not. And it is that moment where you hear the strangling on the voicemail. You hear, like, you know, when Selena says, she called me, and you hear her like scream, and then you hear like I can't even do it, but like the strangle, you know, it's like, ugh. I was like, oh, that's like intense. And so that's where I was a little worried, which is weird because you literally see Selena almost get strangled. But I think without the visual and knowing the person died, it was a little more intense. So it made me a little nervous to bring the girls. Went right over there, like didn't bother them at all. And I was like, oh, all right. Like, okay. Like they were just like, they got it. They understood.
Yeah.
Nothing in the movie really, nothing ever scared them. They did both jump with the Riddler at the beginning, which I think I jumped too.
Ooh, I jumped.
Exactly. Because you don't expect him to be there. And you're like, whoa, okay.
When that tool just rolls right up into the lens and you're like, oh.
I know.
If anything, I thought that would be the scene. Because it shows just enough to be violent, but also leaves enough out to let your imagination run wild. And with anything, the imagination is much more scarier than anything they could show.
That's true. I think it helps that it's like right at the beginning and then you're in for 3 hours. So it's like they forget about it by the time it continues on. Like, oh, I remember he died, but like, I don't remember what happened, you know? But they really, really loved it. Catwoman, they loved it, of course, like I said earlier before Leo came in. But yeah, they thought it was a great movie. Like it ended and they're like, is there going to be a second one? And I was like, these are my children. Like, I'm so proud right now. Because you both know, and some of you guys watching probably know, like for me, Gotham, like the dark, the gritty, the villains. Like I remember Ren saw it and was like, oh, Tessa, you're going to love this movie. Because of Gotham and the dark and the villains.
And I was right.
Yes. And so for the girls to just be like, this is amazing. I'm like, oh, yes. I will say Ivy cheered every time they kissed. Every time Catwoman and Batman kissed. Oh. And I'm pretty sure she liked when Robert Pattinson took his shirt off. And I was like, Ivy, you are 10. Don't be staring at the screen like this. Not yet. But I get it. I understand. But let's wait like 3 more years. Please, at least. But actually, Lori's favorite villain was the Penguin, which I love Penguin too.
What's the matter, fellas? No habla español?
I think one of my favorite scenes of it, he's so good all throughout. And again, totally unrecognizable, right? But I love that scene between him when he's just like laughing at them about like being dumb, basically. You know, he's like, that's the worst Spanish I've ever heard. And then he waddles away at the end, which is
like a penguin.
Fantastic. I don't know, Ren, for you, what was your favorite Penguin moment?
All of them? Can I say all of them?
Yes.
He's just so on point with a performance that, and even the way they write the character, not just performance, but it could have been so out of place in this film. Yet it fits so much. Like when Bruce Wayne approaches Falcone, and I want to talk about John Turturro as Falcone.
Yes,
when we get to
yes.
it. But he's just, hey, whoa, fellas. He's just so much that gangster that the Penguin is. Yet he feels enough that he has enough of the extraordinary that comes from the comics, yet the grounded reality that the rest of the film is set on. And his entire performance here actually got me really excited to see about the idea of a show focused on him. Number one, because I love Colin Farrell.
Yeah.
And number two, what he does here is so interesting. I want to see more of this character that now has that ambition. That now that his father, that now that his boss is gone, he wants to take over that power vacuum. I just found this Penguin so interesting. I never found Penguin that interesting apart from the Arkham games and some stories in the comics, obviously, like No Man's Land.
Which I feel like it could be.
Where we're going.
I think so.
Oh, 100%.
It's gotta be, right?
I think he's just so good. Even in that car chase scene, which is immaculate. It's absolute insanity, the fact that they did so much of that practical. But he's so good. I cannot say enough how good he is. Maybe if I have a standout, the scene in the car where he's just, I got you now, and then the car jumps over the fire and is like, oh shit.
I know. Oh, that chase scene is so good. My husband drove me nuts because I was like, maybe I talked it up too much, but I was like, this is like one of my favorite car scenes of all time. And then the comic shop guy who works at the comic shop that went with me was talking about it to my husband, and he's like, this is my favorite car chase scene of all time. So we get in there and it ends, and my husband looks at me and goes, I hope that's not the chase scene you guys are all talking about, because it was awful. I was like, you're awful. What do you mean it was awful? He goes, it just looks like they kept getting stuck in traffic. I'm like, well, wouldn't there be traffic in real life? I know. I was like, you're lucky I love you, because I was like, who doesn't like that car chase scene? I don't know. Leo, what did you think about the Penguin and the car chase scene? It's a good scene, right?
Oh my God. Well, when I saw the car chase sequence, I was not upset that they included it in the trailer, because it was 1,000 times better in the movie.
Yes.
I absolutely loved it, beginning to end. The shot selection was incredible. Just that shot of Batman walking up to Penguin as if this was a slasher movie when he was approaching a victim.
Sideways too. Oh,
I'm like, what a beautiful upside down walking. You get this nice little intercut with like the boots. And by the way, the sound design is immaculate in this movie. But I loved it, man. Look, every single scene he was in, he was fantastic. And you know what? I'm going to just say this here. Gotham PD, I'm cool with that being on hold, because if it doesn't have any of these people in it, I don't know how interested I'm going to be in it, man. I need these people back. They're who I'm interested in. We've already seen Gotham. So I don't think I need a Gotham PD. But yo, if you tell me Jeffrey Wright's coming back,
yes.
If you're telling me that Colin Farrell's coming back, maybe in that show as well, hit the gas. But he was incredible. I couldn't even tell it was Colin Farrell half of the time. Like, I was like, wow, this makeup and aesthetic is fantastic. His acting is great. I mean, I'm not going to try an impression, because Ren, yours is excellent, and I would not be able to do that good. But I do think that he just embodies this crime mob boss. Like, I mean, he's fantastic. Fantastic.
He is getting a show, I saw, or they're in talks. Did you see
No,
that
he's
yesterday?
He's getting a show, but I do like that it's a limited series. They just haven't decided the title, because it says the Penguin working title in parentheses.
Hit the gas on that.
Which I like, because you don't want, the worst thing is when stuff just keeps going and going and going, and it should end. So like, limited series, let's just get our little in-between moment and then move on. And we don't need any more.
Yeah.
So
James, until the Batman 2.
Oh, yes. So James wants to know.
Hey, James.
We could have one villain to see in the sequel. We kind of touched on who we thought would be in. Leo kind of said Mr. Freeze he'd like to see, right? So
yeah, let me think of a less generic villain. You can come back to me.
I know it's hard. I mean, I want Joker to be there, like in the background, but not like a focal front. Like, I want him to be there and do something, but not be like the main one. Because like, give us a break from Joker for a little bit.
Mhm.
I mean, I would love to see Hush, like Riddler as Hush, maybe, but I don't think that'll ever. I don't know if it would develop
Nah.
fully into him like changing his name.
Nah, I don't think so. Not at this point. Not having seen the movie,
Yeah.
at least I don't see how they do that.
Yeah, Court of Owls would be super cool.
Yeah, that'd be hella cool. I'm gonna just throw out a couple names out there. Wouldn't mind seeing an improved version of Solomon Grundy.
Okay, yeah.
Also,
You think he works in this
Clayface.
world?
I think it depends on the approach.
Yeah.
And I would love to see what he would do with that, but it depends on the approach and how they would do it.
Bane,
also,
we could get.
Clayface. Bane would be cool.
Because that stuff, it was adrenaline, but it was very green. That was
okay. I'm not the only one that was like, what is that?
Yeah.
I mean, like, as soon as I saw that for the first time, I'm like, I'm writing an article for Tessa, and I'm going to mention this.
Because there's an adrenaline shots like a clear liquid. I was like, no. That's
that
bright
was
green.
that was very on purpose.
It doesn't even matter what the color actually is for an adrenaline shot. Literally, they could have colored it anything. That's the stuff that gets me. They went with a full neon strong green.
Yeah, they did.
That's kind of
they really know what they're doing.
What do you think, Ren? How about you? Anyone you want to see?
So I don't want to play my cards again. So I do mention a few villains in my video that's coming out later today, and I mentioned several villains because we also had several villains here, and it worked really well.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to mention a villain that I've always wanted to see in live action. I think there's some really compelling stuff that can be done with this villain. Having seen the movie, though, I don't know how you approach it, but Clayface is one that I think could be really well done. I think it's a very interesting villain, like this actor that has this failed career, but as soon as he can mold himself, literally, to look like anything, he starts getting success, and then he goes down the path of crime and whatnot. I just think it's very interesting. Again, don't know how it works in this world, having seen the film, but if anyone can figure that out, it's Matt Reeves.
I was going to say, if Matt Reeves wants to do it, I feel like he could pull it off. I feel like he could. Alex says that would like to see Mr. Freeze in Court of Owls. I mean, that's who
I don't disagree.
Matt Reeves has said he would like to explore. Again, doesn't mean they'll ever go that route. A scarecrow in
I would like to see a scarecrow here.
Maybe cool Two-Face here as well. Is that
Two-Face?
a little too out of the ordinary for this world? I don't know, man.
I feel like they could pull it off because the DA is dead now, right? So like
they need a new DA.
They need a new DA.
Harvey Dent, baby.
Could be. So let's talk about who else haven't we talked about? Let's talk about Zoey Kravitz real quick. I really liked her a lot as Catwoman. I thought she was fantastic. I love Catwoman. Anyway,
best Catwoman we've had.
I love that they use the whole like I have a thing for strays moment, you know?
Yeah.
That made me happy. I loved her. I thought she was awesome. And I love there was like some serious sexual tension between her and Robert Pattinson. I'm like, in real life, I feel like something must have gone on there because holy cow, they did a great job. Or they want
that rumor, like that rumor last year that they had sex in the Batmobile.
That's right. I believe it. Seeing this, I'm like, fair. I trust it. I believe it. I don't know. Leo, what did you think about Zoey?
Oh, I 1000% buy into that rumor. And if it wasn't there, it was somewhere else. Because I was like, y'all definitely getting it on here.
But if the Batmobile is there, why would you not take advantage of that? I'm just saying.
Look, that sounds like a fucking dream come true. Zoey Kravitz with a Batmobile. Yes, absolutely. Copy paste me right into that. I'll be okay with that. But I loved her Catwoman. I thought it was the best for me. Look, nothing against Eartha Kitt, nothing against Michelle Pfeiffer. They're both great Catwomen, and I think that their roles and the way that they played this character brought a lot to it and established a live action presence for Catwoman in Batman live action properties. So very much praise for both of their performances. I loved Zoey though, and she was my favorite Batwoman. She's my favorite Catwoman, and I absolutely want to see a spin-off series with her. I thought that she had so much charm and swagger and charisma, but at the same time she was corrupt, and I want to explore that character so much more. And I'm so happy for Zoe Kravitz as an actress, because she's been tucked in the background of such big action movies, X-Men First Class, Mad Max. She's just all these background characters, and I'm like, this right here puts her on the main playing field. At least I hope of more roles for her being the lead, because she was incredible here. Incredible. And I heard some criticisms about the relationship with Batman and that it jumps too quick. It didn't feel that way to me.
No,
I also didn't see her as an accessory to Batman's story, because they both have different motives. They just line up and ally themselves because they can achieve their goals together, but they're different goals. She's looking for her lover for most of the movie. And I think that it doesn't feel like she's only serving to Batman's story. Feels to me like she's got her own thing going on, and her and the Batman cross paths and they can work together to achieve both of their goals. And while the Batman is also realizing, like, dang, she's kind of corrupt, it doesn't feel like she's an accessory to me. I guess that's what I'm trying to get. I feel like she is a whole character on her own. But of course, this is the Batman. So this is a Batman movie. We're going to see more of Pattinson. We're going to see her working with him. You know, I just think that she was a very strong character on her own.
Yeah, and I love how vulnerable she is at times too. Like, she's so good. She can go from being like completely badass to like super vulnerable. And then something I love about her in the comics is so many versions of her, probably to an extent every version of her for the most part, is she use it, you know, depending on who she's talking to, her zipper will go down more if she, you know, she to get what she wants, she will use what she has to. And she does this a little bit in here, you know, when she's sitting there talking to the guys about, you know, what's going on, rubbing his leg, like, oh, so what were you saying about that? Like, I like that they didn't shy away from that, because that is Catwoman. Like, she will do that. Right. And, you know, like, she's not really into him, but she's not afraid to, like, I'm going to get the information I want to get. And she does it. And then she moves along. Like, he's like, hey, do you need a ride home? She's like, no, goodbye. You know, Ren, what did you think about Zoey?
I love her. She is by far the best Catwoman we've had in live action. For me, I love the relationship. I agree with Leo. I don't think it jumped too fast, because to me, she is not only a great character on her own, with her own arc in this, where she wants to find Carmine Falcone, for what reasons, and that is, we find compelling as we see this broken character. But then with Batman, she is the first person where, yes, he starts to see that she's corrupt, but she's the first person that he's like, this person is worth saving. She's corrupt, but she's not like the others.
Yeah.
And so she's the one that opens that door for him to have this higher purpose, to become eventually this, more than just a man, a symbol of hope for Gotham. And there's a real beauty where she ends up kind of saving him as he's getting overwhelmed by the Riddler goons at the end, and she goes to help him and team up with him, which is an awesome scene in itself. But yeah, I absolutely adored her. And I love how she calls him Vengeance. It's so sexy.
Yes, it is.
I love it. I love it. And then you wanted to talk about Ren. You wanted to talk about Falcone. I'll let you start. You go. Oh, he's so good.
He steals every scene that he's in. I think Falcone is such a great character in the comics. I think John Turturro is such a great actor. And every time he's on screen, you just realize through him is when I realized the most that every character here, not only is Matt Reeves exploring these characters, he's exploring the history of Gotham through the world building. He's exploring the viewpoint of each of these people of Gotham. How do they see this city? What does this city mean to them? And how each of these characters are who they are at this point in time because of being children of this city, because of being raised here. His whole relationship with Thomas Wayne, how they explore that, and how every time he talks, you just feel dirty. You just know this guy isn't a good man. But he's kind of right in the stuff he says, like when he's talking about the truth about Thomas Wayne, that he was having troubles with hiding the truth about his wife's troubled past with mental illness. And by the way, Martha Wayne is an Arkham. That's a huge change.
Huge.
That blew my mind. and connects again to the whole history of Gotham that the Court of Owls are very interested in. So I'll just say that. But yeah, Carmine Falcone, the whole I once was shot and I came into your house and your dad just took care of me, so I owe him.
Yeah, and you watched. I'll
love,
never forget your face. Like, oh,
yeah, so good. I love every interaction that he has with Bruce Wayne, and then the whole Selina Kyle relationship. I will say, I hope he's not dead, because they clearly shoot him like in the shoulder. Like Riddler shoots him in the shoulder, but then he turns to the side like he's dying, and I'm like, is he dead? Is he not? I hope he's not dead, because he was so good.
He is so good. I know. It would be nice to see him back. I think he might be dead, but I hope he's not, because I would like to see him again. And then I've just been watching Severance.
He is, yeah.
So to compare, like, it just shows how such a versatile actor he is, because he's so different. Leo, what did you think about him and his performance?
So you say so versatile. I completely agree. Have loved John Turturro since as long as I can remember. I mean, Big Lebowski, Brother, We're Out There. Like, I mean, he's just been all over the map, and he brings a very unique energy to every performance. I think he's got so much range, and this for me was my favorite Falcone in live action. I thought he was great. He has presence in every scene that he's in. And when I look at him, and I just can feel the intimidation, the power, the status, without him barely even having to say anything. He really just embodies this mob boss mentality of like smooth, slick, but we'll cut your throat out if you turn the wrong way. So I loved it. I do think he's dead, but if he came back and there was just like a power struggle between him and Penguin, I'd love that. Do that in the Penguin Limited series, and I'm there. Yeah. But
that would be a good place for it, actually.
And I want to borrow something that Leo just brought up, where the status, like every time he's on screen, he knows he's the most powerful man around, and he's not afraid. And something that I think gives humanity to Penguin is that he clearly likes this dude. He clearly likes working for this dude. But once he's incriminated, once he's about to get arrested, Penguin sees an opportunity. Not only, yes, there's a bit of greed, obviously, and selfishness, but he knows that if he doesn't have a show of strength at that point, he's going to get, quote unquote, eaten alive by every other gangster. So I like that betrayal. I find it very compelling on a character level.
So before we get into what we think may be coming in the future, do either of you have anything you want to say overall about the movie that you haven't touched on?
Oh my gosh, the technicals in this movie are absolutely fantastic. Like, this is
the cinematography. God.
I was gonna just say this might be the best shot Batman movie.
Oh yeah,
ever.
100%.
Like, it's beautiful. I mean, that entire racing sequence, the entire chase sequence was out of this world, man. I couldn't ask for better. Also, the score.
Yes, the score.
I know it's controversial.
Michael Giacchino.
Better than the Dark Knight. Better than the Dark Knight score to me.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
No, it's controversial, but
I love the score. So even though I disagree, like it's not a bad score to be a favorite. But the Dark Knight is actually not my favorite Batman score.
I wouldn't guess for you. I was just saying for the majority a lot.
I get you.
But man, it's nice. What's cool about the Batman theme is that it borrows from Funeral March. And so it gives you this whole tone of the movie that is just dark and damp and different. And not to mention, I think since Jaws, this might be the most effective 2-note theme. Like, it's literally just a few notes. And I love that it echoes all throughout the movie. He weaves it in and out to different scenes to really establish how Batman's feeling. And I love that the opening narration, when he gets to the point of him, after the villains scurry off, when he gets to the point of talking about Gotham, there's the score changes to this more hopeful theme. To me, it made me feel like, okay, this is how Batman sees himself, but the way they see him is that 2-note dun dun, that just horrifying theme that is played throughout. I mean, it's just incorporated incredibly. And I'll finish here. The sound design, some of the best in comic book movie history.
Oh yeah,
phenomenal.
Well, speaking of the cinematography and stuff, there was some choices at first when I was like, are there blurry parts on purpose? But then like I got kind of into it, you know, it like worked like when to drive your focus to where it wanted to be, or like there's full scenes or shots, I should say, that are like blurry and you're like, was this supposed to happen? But then like I saw it in a different theater and I'm like, oh yeah, that was supposed to happen. I'm here for it.
I love the opening POV shot. I'm like,
Yes.
what the hell is happening?
And you
It's
hear the
curiosity
breathing
invoking.
and
yeah. So
and
good.
it's just chills. You're like, that's probably like, who is it? Is it Batman or Riddler? And it takes you a minute to like figure it out.
I was like, is
It took me
Batman trying
until
to
the
protect the
Catwoman
family?
scene to figure it out.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. And then didn't Matt Reeves, I feel like I saw this on Twitter. He sent like a letter to like theaters saying like, make sure your settings are on these for the projectors and stuff.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Yeah. And I think it was having to do with like the reds and the, which I think is smart because you need it to be, it could have gotten very dark, like to look at, I mean, and hard to see. But the fact that you can, like when Batman first walks out, you hear the boots and you see him, you see his silhouette at like the perfect time you're supposed to see his silhouette. You know what I mean? So I can imagine if the settings were off, it would throw off some of that stuff.
Those sounds of those boots just kaplunk, kaplunk.
Oh my gosh.
Hitting the floor. I'm like, oh my God.
That's so good. Ren, you want to add anything in terms of sound and score and cinematography?
I just want to talk a little bit more about the cinematography because that whole last sequence when Batman ignites the flare and has to choose going after the criminals, save the people, and he makes that choice of saving the people. And then you have that overhead shot, which is my favorite shot of the film, which is him guiding the people with a light out of the water like freaking Moses.
Yes.
There's a real
and they all come
beauty,
together too.
Yeah, like the triangle shaped thing.
Yes.
There's a real beauty to his arc in this film that it really touched me. As Bruce Wayne, like there's a moment, like we didn't get too many scenes with Alfred. And I understand why that's an issue for so many people, but to me it was so important that we don't get that many scenes with Alfred. But every single one of the ones that we did, they stand out. They're important for the relationship of these characters. But it just shows you how Bruce Wayne has secluded himself from the closest person to him, from the only person he has left in this world until by the end of the film, he opens himself up to be there for other people and to be a person again. So to me, it's a really special film in terms of how it understands this character.
I agree because you're exactly right about showing the isolation. And then that's why we have that moment in the hospital when he's like, I didn't think I would ever feel that fear again, you know, which I know someone told me on their second watch, that was the one that they were like, okay, I can get up and go to the bathroom here during this scene. But I love that scene.
Wait, during the Alfred?
Yes.
Oh man, no way.
I on purpose didn't go to the bathroom the whole time. I wanted to watch the whole thing.
Me too.
I know.
Andy Serkis, by the way.
Yes.
Great as Alfred.
Such a badass Alfred.
Yes.
I love in this scene how he's like confronting Alfred, but it ends up with Alfred. What's the word? Giving him a stern lesson, like, no, you listen to me. Your dad was a good person.
Yep, love that, dude. I love that he defended
him
him too. Like, you know, he's like a Wayne. Like, he's like, no, I'm not gonna let you talk bad about your dad. Like, sets him back on the right path. And I think that's the character of Alfred. That's who he always has been, setting Bruce back on track, and he did that.
Yeah.
And even though he has so little scenes, like one scene that really hits me, like where you see Alfred so hurt, is like early on where he's having a conversation with Bruce, trying to convince him, hey, you need to be more of a Wayne, you need to be more of a person, because you're gonna die if you keep doing this. And he just says, I don't care if I die.
Yeah.
And you see how much that hits him.
Oh man, now I want to go watch it again. I've already seen it twice. I'm like, I was debating it. What's that, Ren? What'd you say?
Saturday for me. I'm gonna watch it.
Oh, you're going again?
I still haven't seen it a second time.
Oh, you haven't?
Oh,
okay.
Ooh,
I've seen it twice, and
it.
I debate on going back a third time, but I'm like, it's coming.
I think I'm going back a third time. I think
my friends, my housemates haven't seen it yet.
Oh man, how do you
see
it? Oh, I know. All right, so
well, because it came out on Friday, and then we were out for the weekend, as you guys know.
oh, that's right.
Yeah,
that's
that's
right. For
right,
your
that's
birthday. Happy late birthday.
Yeah,
Yes.
happy birthday, buddy.
Thank you very much.
All right, so I'll allow it, but hopefully they enjoy it. I'm sure they will. So where do you think we're going? I mean, we're definitely going like where. Well, I think you guys know where I think we're going, but where do you think we're going, Ren? You want to go? Where do you think we're going with a second movie? What's happening?
I think he's for sure doing obviously his version of No Man's Land.
Yes.
The setup is perfect because the Riddler wins. Like we've seen Batman villains win before. Like it's similar to the way he blows up the corners of the city. It's similar to how Bane blew up the bridges in the last. Well, it wasn't Bane who blew up the bridges, but you know what I mean. But that was the last film in the trilogy. Like this is the beginning. I think the setup is all there for No Man's Land, where basically for people who don't know, the United States basically says Gotham is no longer a part of the country. So there's no law. There's no government, and the villains want to take over. And now there's a power vacuum where several villains will want to take over. So I think the setup is all there. And also with a power vacuum, a certain secret society that wants to control Gotham and has controlled Gotham since its inception might want to take over as well. So I really only see that direction to go. Plus, Matt Reeves has been very open about this is what I want to do.
Yeah. And I mean, especially because they even say, like, during his voiceover there, he's talking about, that the villains want to step up and you see Penguin, like, ready to go. So I feel this is the only way we can go. And I'm so excited because I think Matt Reeves can totally pull it off. Leo, what do you think? You agree, I'm sure.
I mean, yeah, I don't really have too much more to add. Definitely, as soon as it was happening, I was like, uh-oh. Like, I kind of knew what was coming right after. So, No Man's Land seems to be the direction. Yep, Court of Owls. I see it all lining up. I do want to say this. I think that either next movie or the movie after, we see some kind of Robin. Whether that's the traditional Dick Grayson or somebody that this universe conjures up. I think that we're getting a Robin, baby.
I think so too. I'd say probably halfway through towards the end of the second one, and then maybe in the third. Like I think we'll be a little bit we'll live in this world for a little bit longer, but not too much longer. I don't think
Ren had a good idea of like something like a better Robin in this realm would be somebody who is inspired in Bloodhaven and already a young adult or a teenager. And somebody that doesn't need to go through, growing up with Bruce Wayne, but is interested due to the stories he hears, and then they team up that way. I love the sound of that.
Yeah, to me, that's the only way right now, at least, that I can see a Robin working. But again, if anyone can make a Robin work, I guess it's Matt Reeves.
You're exactly right. I agree. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us during this chat. I'm going to go, this is the week of doctor's appointments for my children. We've got a dentist appointment later. There was appointments yesterday. There's appointments on Monday. I'm like, what is happening? Not to mention all their after school activities. So I do have to get going, but real quick before we go, Ren, why don't you let everyone know where they can find you again and what you have coming very shortly later today?
Yes, later tonight. Well, first of all, thank you for having me again. It's been a while since I was last here, but I'm happy to be chatting with you and with Leo again live. You guys can find me on Twitter, Letterboxd, YouTube at Ren Geekness. There's already a ton of the Batman coverage there. I do a ton of reviews, and I'm bringing back a series of videos called Fan Casting, where later today I'm going to be casting the Batman 2. The thumbnail's already done. I'm already editing the video. I dive into my castings and also the direction I take in the story. So join me there and share your ideas in the comments.
Yes, I can't wait to check it out. Leo,
I can't
love
wait
that green. Love that green.
Hey, appreciate it. Yeah, I can't wait. Yeah, Ren, I actually really like that series on your channel, so I'm glad you're bringing it back. But yes, guys, you can find me over at Geekly Goods. Tessa, thank you for having me. Like, seriously, it has been a while since we live streamed together, so it has been a great time talking with both of you. But come on, find me over at Geekly Goods on YouTube. Then you can find me at Leo Rydell GG across all social media platforms. I'm going to be diving a little bit more into Turning Red before the weekend is up, so you can expect some of that. And then we are on the path to Moon Knight, baby. But we got Deepwater coming out. We got a couple other screeners to cover as well. So come on through to the channel, Geekly Goods on YouTube.
Yes, awesome. I have Moon Knight. Oh my gosh, we're all so hyped for that. I'm trying to like not see stuff anymore because I feel like we're getting to the point where like I don't want to know anymore. Like I want to be surprised. You know, they're dropping too many TV spots, too many featurettes. I'm like, no.
I haven't even watched the recent one. I'm like, no,
I didn't either.
Nope.
I was like, I don't
saw
need more.
because I went to download the featurette to have it for clips when I did the reviews. I saw the opening shot of the featurette and it's awesome.
Yeah, it is. Yes, that's all I've seen.
Oh man, I'm so excited. Well, thank you guys for joining me. It was so fun to chat again because it has been a while. It has been a while, but we'll get better. Probably, I'm sure we'll do something for Moon Knight. That will be fun, and then maybe even something for Obi-Wan Kenobi. So they'll be back, guys.
Oh, I have one more thing to plug. Plug. There's an article coming very soon to MamasGeeky.com where I called it. Hang on, I called it. 5 theories of madness for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So that's coming very soon.
Ooh, I like that title. I love it. I can't wait to read it. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much, all of you in the chat. And happy birthday, Andrew. I still see you.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Andrew. Fellow Pisces.